Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel. I had a very different video planned for you today. Just to be very transparent, I wanted to post reading booktuber's favorite, but there's one more book that I had to finish because I decided it was a good idea to read more than like 5 books for this video. So you should be seeing that this coming Wednesday. But for now, I shall confess to you that I have been doing some book shopping. I was very stressed out throughout the months of January and February. To give you a clear picture, I've cried more times in the past 2 months than I cried in the entirety of 2023. So in 2024, I was like, yeah, why not? Why not get myself some books? If you're new here for my book shopping, I often get my books secondhand. This is a little bit of an exception because I've gotten more brand new books than I've purchased in a very long time throughout the months, but still a good portion of these books are secondhand books. So without further ado, let me tell you about the books that I bought, and I don't promise you at all that I will give you an accurate summary. The most recent book that I've purchased is The Kingmaker by Kennedy Ryan. This is something that a lot of my Discord friends are reading right now. I heard about it from my friend Jana, who has a channel here. I'll link her in the description below. This is a story about Lennox and Maxim. Maxim is, unfortunately and sadly, an oil tycoon, and he is putting an oil pipe in this very small town or in this area that has a large native population, and our main female character, Lennox, is talking to him about like what he's doing and the impact that it has. I really don't know much outside of that. I just know it's going to be a very emotionally complex story with a lot of political undertones and a lot of conversations to be had. I recently read Real by Kennedy Ryan and I really enjoyed it, so I picked this one up specifically because I had a Barnes & Noble gift card. So I only paid $4 for this one, and I want to annotate it. And when I was in Maine, we went to this super cute little independent bookstore, and I picked up Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, aka Nora Roberts. I know so many people love, I think it's called the Farseer trilogies. Yeah, the Farseer trilogies, and I want to love it too. I want to love it too. Do I know what this is about? No, it's a high fantasy book, and that's all I know. And really, that's all I need to know. The grand total of $0. The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I picked this up specifically because it was a book club pick. So this is about a housemaid slash nanny for this very wealthy family. She like takes care of the home and the child, but the wife in this family is a piece of work because she makes messes for our main female character to pick up. She talks really badly about her daughter. Her husband is like very like much a broken man. Our main female character oversteps boundaries and says, you know, what would it be like if I was the wife of this family? So she's like trying on dresses, and the actual like matriarch of this family sees her from the window, and like chaos ensues. But the premise, let me just read it to you, says, I reassure myself, the Winchesters don't know who I really am, and they don't know what I'm capable of. So I'm assuming some crazy ass shit is gonna go down in this book. Yes, I was a Percy Jackson kid. I used to have the entire series, but I don't anymore. But I picked up Percy Jackson and the Olympians from Barnes & Noble for $9. I picked this up not for myself, but for my nephew who is getting into reading and is really enjoying Percy Jackson. So I picked up a copy for him, only to hear several weeks later that his mother had already bought him a copy. And I was like, God damn it. Now I have another copy of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I don't think I'll reread this series just because I have a whole thing about like, I don't want my thoughts and opinions on the series to change. It meant a lot to me and I want it to stay that way, but I have this book now. You've heard me mention her, you know her, you love her. It is She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chen. This is a story that I was reading on Kindle Unlimited, but unfortunately left in Kindle Unlimited, and while I still had a copy when I renewed my KU subscription, it took away all of my books. So I purchased this one from Pango Books, so secondhand. I bought it for about $5 or $6, something like that. And She Who Became the Sun is often described as a Mulan retelling, although I think that there's a lot more to it than that. In this story, we're following our main female character who spent her whole life kind of in a state of starvation and famine. Her town has been absolutely ravaged and they're all struggling, and she has always heard her whole life that she will amount to nothing and that her brother has this great destiny, except that homeboy fucking dies. And she's like, you know, it would only be right if I had the great destiny in your place. So we're following her story throughout the journey of the great destiny that she is now supposed to have. That perhaps is the worst summary you've ever heard, but you know what? I warned you from the beginning. I also picked up Her Radiant Curse for $10 because it was 50% off from Barnes and Noble. This was also a book club pick, although I did not read it in time for the book club. It's a story of two sisters, one who is like extremely beautiful and the other one who was cursed. So people think that she's a monster, but the only person who's ever been nice to her is her twin sister. Her sister has been very kind to her, but her sister is forced into marriage with this horrendous man. And so our main female character, the sister who was cursed, goes off to defend her, which triggers this massive battle across land and sea. And apparently there's some kind of enemies to lovers romance in here. For the grand total of $1, I picked up the erotic stories for Punjabi Widows, which I believe is a woman who has like workshops where she teaches women how to write, but really it's women to come together and find support with each other. And they're like reading erotic stories. That's all I know about this one. Also for $1. Will I ever remove stickers from these books? Probably not, because I don't care. But this was $1 because it was 50% off. A History of Wild Places is like, I want to say a multi-generational mystery. I don't know. It feels like it's going to be very atmospheric. And that's what I was looking for. For $2, I picked up Heartstopper Volume 1, which quite honestly, aside from a little bit of damage up here in the corner, was in very, very good condition for $2. I've already read this book before, but I was excited to have a copy. Heartstopper is the story of Nick and Charlie. Charlie is openly gay. He deals with a lot of bullying and ostracizing because of that in his boarding school. People are very, very close-minded. And one day he was in like this secret relationship with this man named Ben, who is taking advantage of him. And Nick is like the star rugby player, and he sees this and he goes in to defend Charlie and protect him, and they develop a friendship, and Nick starts to realize, you know what? Maybe I'm not straight, because he's developing feelings for Charlie. It's very cute. It's very sweet. I really enjoyed it, and I'm happy to have a copy officially so many years later. Then I picked up The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. Again, this was like actually 75 cents or something like that. The Bear and the Nightingale is a fairy tale of sorts, and it's set in Russia. So we're following a young girl whose father has just remarried, and her stepmother is definitely something. She has forbidden the family from praying to their gods. She's determined to shape the village and their local culture to how she sees it should be, and she wants her stepdaughter to just be obedient, and essentially is training her either to go become a nun or to get married. Unfortunately, because they're no longer praying to the spirits and following their traditions, the town falls to misfortune, and it is up to this young girl to save them and to use the powers that she has kept hidden from everybody. I just know some people love this, so I hope that I love it too. I picked this up just because it was by Delilah S. Dawson, and I wanted to know more about it. It is a middle grade horror. I believe it's set at a summer camp. Someone's disappeared, and no one believes our main female character. She's like, hello? What the fuck is happening? So I'm excited to read this just because I really enjoyed Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson, but I know that her backlist is massive and spans a variety of genres and topics, including Star Wars. So I'll let you know how I feel about this. Then I picked up 2 Goosebumps books for the nostalgia of them. This one was $1. This one was 75 cents. This one is super pretty because it's so shiny, but I haven't read the Slappy World series or the Horrorland series. I loved Goosebumps as a kid, but I'm really excited to read these books. I know that Gavin from Gavin Reads It All did so many series where he was reading like the entire Goosebumps series, and it just made me feel nostalgic and made me want to pick some up myself. For $1, I picked up Out There by Kate Folk. This is a series of short stories, which I think are kind of bending reality or like imagining an alternate world with a focus on the weird and eerie forces that lurk beneath the surface of an ordinary experience. Kate Folk's debut collection is perfectly pitched to the madness of our current moment. I just know lots of people who read this book who really, really love it. It's relatively short, so I feel like it's the perfect thing to pick up when I'm in the mood for some very bizarre short stories. I will 100% admit that this was a FOMO purchase, but I did go ahead and pick up The Plot because it was on sale for $1. And this is the story of a professor of writing, I think. One of his students has this manuscript that apparently is so brilliant, but this student dies, and so the professor takes the plot for himself. I imagine it's like a descent into madness kind of thing. I don't know much about it, but again, I've seen it floating around and I was curious enough to pick it up. Now we can get into my romances. If you've seen one of my more recent videos, which was I went on 4 blind dates with a book, you know these books, but still, I acquired them, so I will show them to you. First one was unfortunately Funny You Should Ask, which I will be unhauling because I never had an interest in the story, and after reading the first 60 plus pages of this, I sure as heck don't, so I'm going to unhaul this. Then I picked up Next Door Nemesis by Alexa Martin. This is a enemies to lovers, like childhood rival story where she's forced to move back into her parents' house in this very small town in Ohio. And while there, she meets her former best friend turned enemy in high school, who's still very much an absolute douche. And he's running for the president of the HOA and she hates him. She's like, you know what? You suck. I'm going to run for the president of the HOA. And so that ensues and somehow they fall in love. And I picked up Real by Kennedy Ryan, which is a Hollywood romance about an actress who gets her big break being the lead in an upcoming movie that is being directed by Cannon, who is a very famous and well-known director on the film set. They start to fall in love, they get into a relationship, and then the second half of the story, I won't spoil for you, but gets a lot more emotionally complex. I really enjoyed this. I gave it a solid 4-star, and it was one of the books that I picked up during the blind dates with a book. And I did pre-order something. I pre-ordered Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I'm so excited for this one. I absolutely love Ali Hazelwood, if you can't tell by the fact that her books are literally sitting right behind me. This is her paranormal romance debut in terms of being traditionally published. This is a story of a vampire and a werewolf who end up in an arranged marriage and fall in love. I heard that it's so cute and so sweet and like just leaves people kicking their feet, and that's exactly what I want. I'm so excited to get to this. I've had a set TBR for 2 months, so I haven't been able to, but in March is my month of mood reading, so I will be getting to this very soon, and you should see it in an upcoming mood reading vlog. And finally, you know how I said I was entering my historical romance era? I'm entering my historical romance era. So let me tell you about all of the books that I've picked up because I have definitely been a little bit overboard with this, as you can clearly see by the fact that this stack just fell over. So the first book that I picked up was Devil in Winter by Lisa Kleypas. I was watching a lot of historical romance recommendations to try to find the top picks, and this one came up quite a bit. I also love that it's mass market. It's so cute and tiny. The Devil in Winter is kind of a marriage of convenience, and this one we're following Evie. She seeks out the help of this kind of scoundrel. He's the Viscount of something or other. What's his name? Sebastian. So she seeks him out. They end up in a marriage of convenience. The summary is a little hard to understand, but marriage of convenience, he really wants her. She says, if you can stay celibate for 3 months, I will allow you into my bed. And someone's apparently coming after her, and he feels very protective. Then I picked up When a Scot Ties the Knot by Tessa Dare, and this is following a woman named Madeline. And Madeline is about to enter her first season, but she's like, I don't really want to get married, and I would be really bad at this. So she makes up a lover. She says, actually, I am betrothed to this lord, this guy here, and like, here's all of our letters, like our relationship, and people just assume like they get married, and she goes with that. And then she says that he dies in war, except that many years later, this imaginary Scottish lord actually shows up, and he's like, I'm the real Captain Logan Mackenzie, and I've gotten all of your letters, and you know what, wife? We're going to make good on every promise you made to me here. And I just love that trope and that idea. So I'm very excited to read this. I think it's going to be so much fun. And I picked up Dreaming of You by Lisa Kleypas. I picked this up largely because I believe that the heroine in this saves the hero with like a gun. Like, he's getting attacked. Like, she witnesses a very heinous crime in the streets and she saves him. But it turns out the person that she saved is a very notorious, very powerful person in London. He like owns gambling halls and he feels very protective of her. And she starts to fall for him, but he's like, no. I'm a terrible person. We shouldn't belong together. You're too sweet and innocent for me. And it's a love story, so they fall in love anyway. And I just love a strong female character, so I hope that that comes through with the character in this book. This is Seduction of a Highland Lass by Maya Banks. So in this story, we're following a man who is like a Scottish lord, and he's been very protective of his clan, but he knows that it's time for him to get married. So on his way to like get the hand of this other person that will create an alliance, he's actually beaten and been left for dead and saved by this mysterious person who he thinks is an angel. But it's not an angel. It's Keely McDonald, who was ostracized from her clan and betrayed. And this is like their love story. I'm imagining there's caretaking in here, which I really love. And I just think this is going to be a really sweet read, or at least I hope that it will be. Then I picked up The Lady Risks All by Stephanie Lawrence. I believe this one's just very steamy. It's like this woman who feels very constrained by like society's expectations of her. She feels very rigid and like just stuck, and she ends up meeting this guy named Neville, and I think that they just fuck. I honestly think that's what this book is about, but if I'm wrong, you'll know that when I read this book. And I picked up A Fine Passion by Stephanie Lawrence. Again, this book was only 75 cents, so I figured why not. This is following a man named Jack, and I think at some point he's rescuing a woman named Clarice from like her horse or something. Unlike the women that he meets, she's like, fuck off, I don't need your help, and then enamors of him to her. I just liked it. I like the cover. I like the premise. I hope that I like the book. And I picked up Tempest by Beverly Jenkins, and this is a story of a mail order bride. When she gets into this arranged marriage, there's like some kind of confusion, and she shoots him, and he's like, what kind of wife would shoot me? But I think they end up falling in love. It's like a single father romance, and I think that I would really enjoy this. There's another Beverly Jenkins. Ooh, look, the receipt's in here. A bookmark! I thought that was the receipt. Anyway, there's another Beverly Jenkins that I am interested in as well. I believe it's one where she's Lady of the Night, but it's very hard to find, but my library has like a very well-stocked Beverly Jenkins collection, so I just wanted to purchase this one so I can annotate it. This is Marry in Haste by Anne Gracie, and this is a story of a man who I think was out and about, and he comes back and he realizes that he is now the Lord, and he's responsible for these estates and all of these things, including the care of his young half-sisters, who are quite a handful, wild and rebellious. He doesn't know what to do, but he hears that their former teacher, Miss Emmeline Westwood, could handle them really well, and they had a very positive relationship. So he offers her a marriage of convenience. It's like, actually, I really need your help. Be my wife. She knows that they didn't marry for love, yet she can't help but find herself falling for him. I just think this is going to be such a cute story, so I'm really happy that I picked this one up and that I found it at such a good deal of $1. So those are the almost 30 books that I've picked up throughout the months of January and February. Do you know that clip in SpongeBob where SpongeBob thinks he's ugly and Patrick is like, look at him! Look at it! That's how I feel looking at this book pile. I'm like, oh, that was a lot. That was a lot of books. But still, I'm really excited to read all of these books. There should be an upcoming like reorganizing my shelves video, because obviously these all need to go somewhere, but I also need to unhaul. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know if you will be reading any of these books, or if you have read any of these books and what you think of them. And I will see you next time. Bye!